Hey everybody, Chad here. In this video, we're going to talk about a great question here, a very unique question. And the question is, can anyone use the law of attraction, or is it only for certain people? Okay, so it's kind of two questions in one. One, can anyone use it? And two, is it only for certain people? Okay, so that's what we're going to discuss today. We're going to try to keep this short, sweet, to the point. Before we get started, comment below because I'd love to hear kind of your intake on law of attraction and this question. So comment below, let me know what you think. And before we get started, okay, I'm gonna post a video here and it's gonna be a short presentation on the law of attraction and the law of vibration. You know, pretty much how to attract, but the reason why you're not attracting. And it gives visual aids, so that's why I say it's a presentation. It's not, you're not just sitting here staring at me talking. It's more visual. So I think sometimes people learn better looking at visuals and me explaining things and going through graphs and going through some stuff. So that's going to be attached here. So check that out as well. And now let's get rocking and rolling on. I had a brain fart here, but anyway, try to make this video fun. Can anyone use the law of attraction, or is it only for certain people? Now, let's go on part one. Can anybody use the law of attraction? That's a yes. Okay, now we got to think about what is the law of attraction really quick. Law of attraction, the basics to a law of attraction is we attract on a level of our thought. No matter if it's positive or negative, we attract. We think positive. When we think positive long enough, we attract positive things into our lives. If we think negative, when we think negative long enough, well, we attract negative into our lives. Think about it this way, is if you wake up happy, you tend to have a happy day, okay? You have happy conversations, you have friends reach out to you, so forth and so forth. You tend to be happy. But if you wake up and for whatever reason you wake up in a bad mood, maybe you had an argument the night before that you kind of went to bed angry, you woke up angry, maybe you woke up and your dog, your pet, your cat chewed your favorite slipper and you just started your day kind of in an angry state and it basically kind of had a snowball effect. Okay, that's really the basics to a law of attraction. Okay, it doesn't have to be something super negative, okay, but just something simple as that. So yes, it applies to everybody. Okay, now some people will talk about, well, you know, law of attraction, kind of the real, in my opinion, law of attraction really came from spiritual texts. When you really look at the history of law of attraction, you look at the old time gurus, the old time prosperity teachers, they would really teach on spiritual texts around law of attraction, law of vibration, law of assumption. So, you know, that's really where it came from. So now we really have a question. Well, I don't believe, maybe you're not a Christian. Maybe you don't believe in the Bible, but you're Buddhist. Okay. But this is my feeling. Okay. When I've studied not all religions, okay, because there's many out there, but I've studied a lot of them. And for the basics, okay, if you're just non-judgmental, okay, and I'm very non-judgmental when I look at things. If you're non-judgmental, you see the basics. The basics, there's a lot of things that cross over. And when you look at law of attraction, when you look at laws of abundance, okay, abundance is within us. Abundance is our birthright, okay? Heaven is within. As you believe, you receive, you reap what you sow. Okay, we've all heard these kind of statements, but these statements are across many, many religions. Okay, totally different religions. If you're Muslim, you're Buddhist, you're Christian, you're a Jew, it doesn't really matter. Okay, it's the basics are all there. They might say it differently, but it's all there. So you firmly don't have to believe in a religion. Makes sense? You can just believe in laws of the universe. Makes sense? You don't have to believe in anything for a law of attraction to work into your life. It's just a level of thought. If we believe we're a spiritual being, we don't know why we're here. Okay, we don't have to get that technical with it or have a great big philosophy type of conversation. Okay, if you believe you're a spiritual being, you don't know why you're here, but you're a spiritual being. You don't know what you believe, but you're a spiritual being. But we attract on a level of our thoughts. As we think of things, those start becoming our reality. Make sense? So, I mean, we can ask a lot of deep questions that it's hard to answer, Or if I throw out, okay, how do you explain generational poverty? Make sense? Now, you might be able to explain it, but how do you explain it? How do you explain generational poverty? Why, if your parents were poor, grew up poor, you have a very good chance of growing up just like your parents. Poor, okay? If you grew up middle class, well, you have a very good chance of growing up middle class, and you stay in that middle class bracket. If you grew up with a wealthy family, well, there's a very good chance you're going to remain wealthy. Why? Because as a kid, okay, it's been ingrained in us a level of thought, how we think in each class. Okay, poverty, middle class, and wealthy. Okay, we take on the beliefs as a child, we take on the beliefs of our parents, of our school teachers when we go to school, of our friends. The most people, the most five, you ever heard this? The top 5 people you hang around, you become? That's why, because we hang around people just like us. Okay, we don't break out of that classification. But how do you explain this? Okay, but it's really the law of attraction at work. We don't look at it as a law of attraction, but it's a nature of our thoughts. If we believe we have the same thoughts of our parents that's in poverty, well, we're going to remain in poverty unless we break that cycle. How do we break that cycle? We start thinking. Remember, go back. We start thinking. Maybe it's you, I'm talking to you. How did you break that cycle? How did you break that negative pattern? Well, first you had to believe you could do it. You got to start thinking more positive. You have to start thinking that, well, I have a belief that you don't want to be that way. You don't want to be this. So you have that belief in the beginning that you can break that cycle. Okay, you can be the first one out of your family that broke that poverty cycle. Maybe you're the first one out of your family that went to college. Make sense? So it all relates to the law of attraction. It all comes back down to our level of a belief in ourselves, our level of thoughts, okay? That's why the law of attraction is, if we think positive or negative, it doesn't really matter. They both attract into our lives. It just depends upon how long we stay in these states. Are we negative all the time? Are we bitter all the time? Are we constantly whining and complaining and talking about other people all the time? That kind of stuff is going to kind of bleed into our lives versus being positive. Are we going to be very positive, have a positive outlook on life, and that's going to come into our lives? Okay, so it doesn't, at that point, law of attraction works for everybody. Now let's go to the second phase of the question. And the second phase of the question is it only for certain people? Okay, is law of attraction only for certain people? Sorry, I dropped that. You hear a big bang. Okay, now we have to understand law of attraction is not biased. It's attracting to anybody and everybody. And what I mean it's not biased is, again, if you look at the level of thought, if I'm positive, I'm attracting positive things. If I'm negative, I'm attracting negative things. Okay, but non-biased means, I'll give you this example. Okay, we've all seen this, either seen it with our eyes, heard it, see it on TV. Okay, you might hear a celebrity has all the money in the world, wealthy, makes millions of dollars, but drinks, has an alcohol problem, have a drug issue, he's in and out of jail all the time. Makes sense? And you think to yourself, well, dude, how can he attract to himself millions of dollars having a lifestyle like that? You know what I mean? We all think this way. Sometimes we say it, sometimes we discuss it with friends, or we're just thinking it. Makes sense? Or we hear of people that are wealthy and they're mean to people. And you think to yourself, well, how could they be wealthy if they're constantly flipping mean? Okay, I'm over here, I'm a good person, and why don't you bring some of that wealth over here? You know what I mean? It's basically non-bias, okay? That's what I mean by non-bias, meaning that it's the level of thought. If that wealthy person thinks abundance is his, they think abundance is within me, they think money is infinite, okay? Money always comes to me. Well, and his state is constantly confident because he has plenty of money. So more things just kind of come to them. Bottom line, It's not bias. Okay, it doesn't matter if he's a quote unquote a good person or not. Okay, it's a level of thought that's attracting to his life. Okay, you could be a great person. Okay, now over here, you could be a great person, but your parents grew up in poverty. You grew up in poverty. Okay, you grew up in that generational poverty. You take on the beliefs of your parents. You think everything is hard. You think life has to be hard because that's what you grew up hearing from your parents. Okay, it's hard to make money. Okay, wealthy people are stingy. Rich people screw you, and so forth and so forth. That's what you heard growing up from your parents. So those are the beliefs that you have growing up. But those beliefs hold you back. Those beliefs keep you where you are. Okay, that's why you remain where you are. Okay, so law of attraction is working for you, but it's working kind of in the opposite than what you want it to work for you. Okay, versus over here, this wealthy person may be really nice because you don't really know them, but you think that they are mean. You think, oh, well, he's addicted to alcohol and drugs and parties all the time, whatever. I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? But it's really at his level of thought. Okay, that's the basics of it. The level of his thought is abundance is in me. He walks around abundant all the day. He has abundant thoughts. No matter if he's doing it consciously, he knows what he's doing, or he's doing it kind of subconsciously. Okay, because he's been doing it so long, so he just naturally thinks that way. He doesn't think it's law of attraction because he just naturally thinks that way. He naturally was brought up that way. He was naturally brought up as his parents had tons and tons of money, so he never had to worry about money. Everything was given to him. Okay. Now, you can sit there and say, well, that person's going to be spoiled or whatnot. But when you grow up like that, lots of times in your life, you attract a lot to you because you were never in need. Make sense? That's what law of attraction is, not bias. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a good person or not. It really just comes back down to your level of thought, my friends. So hopefully I've answered this question. My battery is getting low there. It just kind of flashed at me. But I just want to keep this short, simple, to the point. And I will see you in the next video.